This is a tutorial on how to create this green screen outfit change animation. The difficulty level of this is a 4 out of 5. We will use techniques including green screen, masking, and keyframing. The app that I'm going to use to demonstrate is CapCut, but you can also create this inside VN Video Editor, and you will also need the app PixArt. Here are some examples of how to apply this to your niche. Pause to read, and let's get into it. So let's go over the clips that you're going to need for this tutorial. First of all, you're going to want to walk into the frame with your first outfit. I chose to use my PJs, but this can be any outfit for you. And then what you're going to do is hold a shoe and then put your hand as if you're putting it through the frame. So when I was filming this, I made sure to film it a little wider, and this is because we're going to crop it in later. So don't worry that it looks a little bit wider right now. And then you're going to change into the second outfit with that shoe. And what I did was I used my slippers that I was wearing in this frame, and I put it right where I stepped my feet. As you can see here. You can see here I left the slippers on the floor right there, and then when I came back, I removed the slippers and then knew where I was going to stand. So I stepped and then did the next step. These are just some choreographed steps, arbitrary steps. You can choose whatever steps you want, as long as you match them up with each outfit. So I continued the last step, which was this step, and then I stepped to the side. So notice how I'm matching the last clip's motion. So this was the last step I ended in. This is where I'm going to transition to the next outfit. And so I start this clip here, and then I move back, all right? And then the next clip, I change outfits. I repeat that step, go from here, and then continue my next movement. And then I stop right here. So you can see here what I did was I took off my boots, I left them in place, and then left the spot. Now we're coming back in. I step on the spot where the boots are and I remove them, and continue the movement. Sometimes it takes a few tries. You can see I don't always get it right. I make sure to repeat myself until I get the right movement. All right? And then I walk out of the frame. This way we can actually loop the whole video. Next, you need to set up a green screen. I just was lazy, so I just put the green screen up against my clothing rack, and then you just want to put your hand out like this and then drop the shoe. So when you put it out for a few seconds. Now these few seconds might not be enough to last the whole video before we drop the shoe, but don't worry, I'm going to show you how to extend the clip and make it look natural. Same thing with the other two shoes. Put it out and then drop. And then this one, put it out and drop. Okay. Now let's put it into CapCut. So we have our first clip of walking in. You want to start from the beginning, so we just start by trimming all of the clips. We want to end it off right where I take my first step, which we're gonna change into my first outfit right here. So split and delete. And then we'll start again from where I do the same motion right here. So you want to match it up so it looks nice. So that looks like a bit too short. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, that looks good. And then we stop right here when I stomp, and then we repeat it from here, split and delete. So you just want to keep trimming until you have the clips connecting at the right moment. Split and delete the rest. Go into the last outfit, spot right here, and delete the beginning part. So let's take a quick look. Obviously it goes without saying, but make sure you're filming this on a tripod and not moving your tripod, okay? Okay, that looks good, and let's just delete it to the part where you don't see anything. Now we're going to handle the green screen, but I think because this is a type of reel where it's very specific that you should be matching to the beat, it would definitely look better. So I'm going to go screen record the beat from the IG Music library, and then I'm going to extract it into this video. Over 4 years. Okay, now that we have this screen recording of the IG reel, which is the actual reel that I posted, let's go back into CapCut and extract that audio right here. And then we're going to move it forward in the timeline, and we're going to start trimming our clips so that we match it up to the song. So we want the first beat, this one, to match up with my hands going out. So it should be right here. Okay, so it looks like it was a little too fast. We want the beat here to match up with the transition. So let's go in here and adjust the speed a little bit. I did technically film this in 30 frames per second, so you really shouldn't be speeding it down, but look, if sometimes you have to, you have to. I think the rest of the music matches just fine. I think this is a little bit fast overall. Maybe we want to just overall slow it down by 10%. Let's take a look. This is looking good now. What we're going to do is add a little effect, shake effect in between here, in between here, to make it look less obvious that you made a big jump between outfits, okay? So let's go to effects, and let's do video effects, and let's see if we can do like a little shake. So we can probably choose one of these. Ideally, let's go with something that isn't a pro option, maybe this shake option. And you'll see how it affects little bits in the timeline. So you can just drag it, and then you can trim it to be only lasting for a very short while. Okay, let's zoom in. And we can also go in and adjust this. For example, what speed at which, this is way too intense. Let's reduce the intensity. Maybe a little more intense. Oh, that's really intense. We only want a little bit of movement, okay? So let's trim this. It's honestly really subtle, so maybe we can increase the intensity. That looks better. Now we can duplicate it and then just add it to each area where you transition. Okay, that looks pretty good. Do it again, drag it forward, put it in between the two clips. Now let's play it over. I think that looks fine. You can choose other effects if you like if you want like a flash or something else, but I think this little like shake thing, generally speaking, does a pretty good job. You can experiment around and see what you like the most. And now what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to want to adjust all the colors and clips so that I make sure they match up first before I start doing all the other things. So overall, I think it looks fine. It's just very, very dull. So I think we can do an adjustment layer rather than trying to edit each clip and try to change the exposure, the temperature, the hue for every single clip. This will save us a lot of time. So let's go to adjust, and then let's increase the contrast, increase the saturation. Let's increase the brilliance. And let's also, actually, let's just do auto adjust and see if it does a good job. Okay, definitely overexposed. But what you can do is you can take this and then you can work with it. Let's make it definitely more saturated. And let's make it more pink, make it more warm in temperature, maybe up to here. A lot more pink because we want a lot more color here. Okay, I think that looks nice. So let's drag this adjustment so that it affects every clip. Now this is a great way to save you time when you are editing. Okay, let's also trim this beginning part because we want it to match the song. We can also just drag it back a bit and we can trim this part and move it to the end. So maybe let's drag it back to when I first walk in, and let's trim here and move this to the back so that it can loop. Okay. Now let's drag this adjustment layer so that it affects all the clips. Let's zoom out on the timeline so we can see what we're doing. And let's just make sure the colors look good first before we move on. So I think these two clips are a little overexposed. They're slightly different color than these two. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to trim this adjustment right here and give these two slightly different adjustments. That looks better. Let's also just give this adjustment layer a little bit more pink. And maybe like this. I'm gonna also split this here and adjust this clip. I think it looks quite different. Now I think these two are much more similar in color, right? And then this one now looks different because now it's too bright. So I'm gonna go in and adjust this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's play one more time. That looks good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and I'm going to remove the background. Before we do though, it's looking so dull in color. Maybe we can let's just correct it now. And because these are clips that we're going to overlay later on top of these clips, so I want to adjust them individually so that as we move them along in the timeline, wherever we adjust them, we don't have to also move an adjustment layer with it. Okay, let's go to adjust. Let's auto adjust for now. Let's reduce the brightness and let's just do that. Now let's go to remove background and do chroma key and remove this green. And go to intensity and increase the intensity until you're able to remove most everything without removing any details of your hand like this. So go up to right around here. That looks good. You could also adjust the shadow to see if it helps with anything, but I think it's not necessary in this particular case. And let's just make sure it all looks good. Okay. So now what we can do is let's put a mask on this layer, because you can see that there's a lot of unnecessary detail that we don't want. So we want to mask that out. So we can mask and choose circle. And now we have removed everything outside of this circle. We can adjust the circle later with keyframes when we need to, where I'm dropping the shoe because we need the shoe to fall onto my feet. Now what we're going to do is make this an overlay. So go to overlay and move this forward to the right place in the timeline. And we want it to come out right here. So let's move it forward. So notice how my arms come out like this. We want to time them both so they come out at the same time. So let's take a quick look. That's pretty good actually. That's timed pretty well. So right now with the top layer selected, let's just move it so that it's in the right position. We want to make sure it's roughly the same size. It looks a lot bigger, so I'm gonna reduce the size a little bit. Well, you can also like move it over to see if it matches the arm size. I think that should be about right. And we rotated it a tiny bit because I think that is more 90-degree. So it can look like this. Okay, and now it looks like the Hulk's hand because it is really green. So what you want to do is just go in and adjust the colors. We really want to increase the saturation. We really want to change the hue a lot because if it's green, you see if you go left on the hue, it's green. On the right, it's more pink. So let's definitely go towards the right. Let's increase the temperature so it looks more like warm and human-like. That looks great. Okay, so now we have this. So we need the arm for this part to, when the shoe drops, we need the hand to release the shoe. So this is definitely taking too long to drop the shoe. So let's just crop it around here, split. And what we can do is we can split and take this part of the clip and speed it up. Because this is the part where the hand isn't really moving, so it doesn't matter too much if you speed it up. So let's speed it up. We can speed it up at uniform speed. Maybe something like this. Okay, so you can see the way that the shoe drops. It needs to drop even sooner. Like right now as it drops, it's kind of going down too late. We've already changed the outfit. So what we're going to do is we're going to speed this up even more. Let's go to 1.4. I think that's a little bit better. Maybe we can speed it up just a tiny bit more. That looks good. That looks like it's timed right. Okay, now let's take a look at the shoe drop real time. Alright, so basically, when the shoe falls out of the hand like this, you want to screenshot the shoe because you'll notice that the shoe only drops so far, like roughly around here, and then it disappears from the green screen, from the mask as well. So what you want to do is find the part where it drops the furthest, maybe around here, go full screen, and now you can screenshot this because we're going to isolate the shoe. And then now you can go back here, and what we want to do is we're going to take the screenshot of the shoe and then animate the image so that it falls onto your feet. So first, let's take that screenshot of the whole frame and isolate it so there's just the shoe left. In order to do that, you want to go to the PixArt app, and from here just add the image that you just screenshotted and go to remove background. You'll notice that it removed the shoe because it usually detects the person, but don't worry, just go to the eraser button at the top, tap that, and now you can restore. You see at the bottom there's restore, and this is selected. And so if you just go to where the shoe was, and it will restore what was erased. And then now what we want to do is actually erase the whole person and everything else and leave only the shoe. So let's go to erase. Let's erase all of this. We can zoom in and increase the hardness of the brush so we can get more precise shapes and just really get in there and clean it up. Okay, so I think that's good enough. It doesn't have to be extremely precise because we are ultimately going to add some motion blur to it. So now go to Effects at the bottom and then scroll all the way to the right and tap on Motion Blur. And you can go in, you can see now it now has some motion blur to it. Tap on the selection in terms of the customization bar, and you can just decrease the blur a little bit. Check that the angle is the angle that you want, and you can just customize this as you like, and then tap apply. And now you can just save this image. Let's go back here and let's go to overlay, and now the shoe has been added as an overlay, and this is just an image of the shoe, by the way. So you want to adjust the size so that it matches up well. And then now you can see that the color was changed a little bit for some reason. Maybe it happened when it was screenshotted, or maybe when we made the cutout of the shoe, because the file is different. It's like a PNG file, so it changed the color, maybe. That's my guess. So let's just go adjust it so it's as close to the shoe that we see in the video as possible. And we're going to animate it so that it falls on our feet. So let's add a keyframe. And before we move away from this moment in the timeline, let's first go back to the green screen where we have the shoe, and let's split this. And the reason why we are splitting this is because the mask that we have right here, if we go into mask and take a look, you can see it's like this circle shape, right? But as the shoe drops, we don't want the shoe to look like it is being cropped out of the circle. Let me play it so you can see. Right, so we want the shoe to disappear the moment that this shoe that we overlaid appears. That's why we split it right here, and we're going to go in and adjust the mask so that you don't see the shoe at all. Okay, so you only have the hands left, like this. Now let's take a look so you know what I mean. Okay, of course we haven't animated this yet, so it looks like you threw the shoe and then it was frozen in midair. And don't worry about how it has two shoes right now on the screen. The preview on CapCut is notoriously slow. It doesn't play real time as you scroll along the timeline, but then if you play it with the play button, like you replay what you have edited, then it is playing correctly. However, when you are scrolling along your timeline like this, oftentimes it does not react fast enough, and so it looks really funky. But just know that we have done it correctly, because if you play it real time, you'll see that it is correct. Okay? So now we want to animate this, and we want it so that at this frame, when the outfits change from this to this, the shoe has already landed on the feet. So let's zoom in so you can get more specific. Let's add a keyframe to the part where it's supposed to land on the feet, right here, let's say. And you can go in and just move the shoe basically down to the feet. And I do still think that it looks a bit bright, so I'm gonna go in and just adjust the brightness just a tiny bit more here. And let's also go in and split this and delete the rest, because we don't want that shoe to continue to be in the frame, right? The moment it lands on your feet, it should disappear. All right, so now let's replay that in real time. That looks pretty good, but notice how the shoe drops like a at a linear speed, and also it's like a straight line down to your feet. That's not very natural. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first animate it so that it drops vertically first. So it's gonna drop like this vertically and then go horizontal towards your feet. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay. I think it just looks a bit more natural if the shoe falls vertically first. So I think that looks fine. Now what we're going to do is basically repeat the same step for each time you change your outfit. And then, so we need to do it 2 more times. So what we need to do is we need to first find the clip for this and adjust the color and adjust the time that it is in the timeline so that it's either long enough to have the shoe drop at the right time coordinated with the outfit change. So let's go in and do that. So again, just repeat the steps. Go to tap on overlay so that it becomes an overlay layer and drag it here and find the place where it should come out. So first let's go back into chroma key in remove background and let's increase the intensity. I'm gonna just move at a pretty fast speed. If you need a revision, just go back to the previous example. Okay, mask, and I'm gonna do a circle mask. Just move it like here. Okay, can adjust the mask later. Can you close the door? Okay, now let's adjust the size of this, the angle of it, the location so that it roughly lands in the same place. Now let's see if the timing is correct. Timing looks pretty good as well. Just make minor adjustments here. Okay, so now you can see that the shoe definitely drops way too early. Actually, I might even just move up a little bit. You can see that the shoe drops way too early. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate the part where the where the hand is out, sorry, and then make sure to duplicate it enough times so that the hand is out there hanging for long enough to match up the shoe drop in the timeline. Also, maybe we can go in and adjust the color just a tiny bit just by adding a little bit of warmth and increasing the hue, maybe a bit more warmth like this. I do think that looks a tiny bit better. So now we want to find the part where the hand is already fully out into the frame, like right here. We split it right here, and then before the shoe drops, right there, we want to split it again. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to move the shoe drop part further back in the timeline so that it matches with when we change outfits. And we can make some adjustments as we go, but let's take a look at it real time. That actually looks like it's timed pretty well. Maybe I'll move it back just a tiny bit. I think that looks pretty good. So now you see we have this gap in this middle here where we need more frames to fill it up. But if we slowed it down, it would be, I think, way too slow. So what we can do instead is we can duplicate it and then we can move this forward a little. Now what we can do is slow both of the clips down a little bit. We can also reverse the order of this so that it's almost like a boomerang. That way it won't have a little like a jitter moment, but rather it's more like a boomerang. You won't even notice because the hand is barely moving. So when you do a boomerang like that, you won't really notice that the hand repeated like a loop. So let's go to reverse. Okay, now the video has been reversed. And now what we want to do is just slow both of the clips down so that you feel the timeline and that your hand with this brown boot is always out there, is always in the timeline until you drop the shoe. I hope that makes sense. So let's go to speed and let's use curve so that we can customize the speed a little bit more. We can start by doing just maybe a little bit, maybe 0.9 or 0.8. And let's take a look first. Okay, that's definitely not enough. Go back into speed. The purpose is to have it be slow enough that it connects to the next clip, right? Okay, just a tiny bit more. You see now the gap is between the two clips is smaller, and we just need to lengthen this clip just enough so that there's almost no gap between them. Oh, now it's a little bit longer, so you can see that it got pushed to like a different layer in the timeline because it's a little bit longer. So maybe we can go in and just bring this up like this. Okay, and let's move it back. Now you can see it's almost exactly matched up. You just need to make sure there's no gap in the timeline. So it will look something like this. We also need to slow down this part, but let's just play it first. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we just have to speed this down, similar process as the other one. So we're just going to go do it to 0.7 and then adjust accordingly. That's good. Just need to slow it down a bit more. Maybe a tiny bit more. Okay, and make sure there are no gaps. Okay, that looks good. Now let's play that. Okay, so now you see how the shoe, the brown shoe, although the clip was way too short and I dropped the shoe way too fast, you can duplicate it in this way and reverse the order of the duplicated clip and then speed down, so reduce the speed of both clips in order for the whole timeline to be filled. And that's how you can take a clip that technically wasn't timed right and wasn't long enough and match it well to the timing of your actual transitions and outfit changes. So now what we have to do is just do the same thing with this shoe drop. We're going to go in here and we're going to screenshot maybe roughly around here. Okay, but as I'm looking at this, it looks like the green screen accidentally deleted a bit too much. So I'm just going to go in and fix that real quick. Go back into remove background, chroma key, and maybe we play with the shadows. Aha, there we go. So you also want to play around with the shadows a bit, and it definitely brought it back. Let's just take a look at full screen. Yeah, so the heel disappeared before and now it's back. Okay, so let's find the frame where the shoe drops the furthest. Of course, there is a mask that sort of crops the shoe a little bit. So let's go back into mask and just adjust the mask a little bit so we can see the shoe. And let's go full screen. Let's screenshot it and do the same process in PixArt. Okay, we have finished isolating the shoe, so let's add that image as an overlay and let's adjust the size so that it matches well. Okay, and now split the video here and then adjust the mask so that you won't see the shoe from here. So let's go to mask and just move the mask. Change the size of the mask as you need so that you remove the shoe from the mask from here so that it's replaced with this image right here. And also, if you notice the mask here, I used a rectangle. I experimented a little and I feel like the rectangle feels better. Now let's animate this shoe. So let's add a keyframe. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in on the timeline and find the spot where it should land right here. Add another keyframe and then move forward a bit and split and delete the rest. And now let's go to this keyframe and let's just move the shoe down like this. Okay, let's take a look. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the first shoe example is that you want to remove your hand from the frame because the hand is now not holding a shoe anymore, right? So once you drop the shoe, you can now add a keyframe and animate your hand so that it moves back out of the frame. So let's add a keyframe here, move forward, add another keyframe, and just move this backwards. Same as this one, let's add a keyframe, move forward a little, add another keyframe, and move it out. So you can see as the shoe drops, the hand also animates backwards. Let's do the last shoe transition. Okay, now that we have finally repeated the process for all three of the green screens, let's play it over and then we'll export it. Then we're going to add more animations because right now this is just like a static tripod video and it's not that interesting. So we're going to add some zoom in, zoom out, but we have to first check it and export it. Okay, let's export it. It does look like there's a little bit of lag when it's replaying the first two shoes falling on the feet. So let's export it and make sure that it looks okay after it's been exported. One thing you'll notice is that I'm exporting in 4K. And this is because we want to ensure that it is exported at the highest quality so that we can zoom in and zoom out because we are not actually uploading this 4K version onto any social media platforms. We are using it to put back into CapCut to do these zoom in, zoom out actions, and then once we add those animations, we will then export it in 1080p, which is the best resolution for social media. So we have imported the clip back into CapCut, and it looks like the shoe drop timing is looking good. It was just that when we were playing it inside the CapCut app before it was exported, it was not loading fast enough, so it looks a bit laggy, but it's not actually lagged, so that's good. Now we just need to go in and add keyframes and create some zoom in and zoom out effects. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we want to zoom in the moment that I put my hand through right here, because you can see that this hand and these hands, they definitely don't look proportional. So you want to zoom into the frame right before that happens. So maybe from here to here, you zoom in. So now let's just use our hands to crop in like this. And you want to zoom it in enough so that it makes sense where the part where the arm extends out of the frame on the right is the part where it also comes in from the left. So roughly this much looks maybe like this. That looks somewhat correct. And let's add a curve in between. Maybe we can try ease out 3. And let's take a look again. I think we could potentially have it zoom in even quicker, so let's add a keyframe closer to the second keyframe and make it the correct size. Let's remove the first keyframe. So we're going to go from this to this in a shorter amount of time, so the shorter distance between the 2 keyframes, so it will be animated faster. And now notice when they put the shoe on, it now is too zoomed in, so we want to, I would say, add a keyframe here and also add a keyframe here so that we zoom out here. It'll be like this. And again, we can add a little ease out here. I think we can zoom out even more because right now it's not really impactful enough for it to look like a significant zoom out. So maybe something like this. Okay, we can always do one more with this one. So add a keyframe there, keyframe here. And let's maybe zoom in here. And then add a ease out. Let's take a look. And here again, we can do another one. Maybe we zoom out right here. Like this. And then add an ease out in between. And let's take a look. Remember to delete this little end part. I think that looks pretty good. And now you just need to export the final file and you're done.